Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of CS Cyber. I'm Sean.
And I'm Chad.
And we had a lot going on in the building this week. So do you want to start and just talk about that for a little bit?
Yeah, it's been a busy week for Secure Cyber, for Go Cyber Collective. So yeah, let's just talk about that.
So those of you who don't know, there's a nonprofit here in the Dayton area called the Go Cyber Collective. The website is gocybercollective.org. We'll make sure that that shows up in the show notes. And we put on a Capture the Flag event and did a ribbon cutting for a new cybersecurity upskilling training center.
Yeah, so two things going on there, right? So a regional training center here in the Dayton, Ohio area, and then the 2-day Capture the Flag event, which was, the turnout was awesome for that. I mean, it was a big event.
Yeah, it was. So the way we did it this time is, well, first of all, we partnered with a company called Sempire. That's the range platform that we used. That is part of a overarching group in Israel, and they were here to proctor that with us and to help launch that. So shout out to the Cyber Pro guys for coming out for that. So we used the Sempire platform, and then we broke it up into a commercial day, and then we did an educational day. And the idea was to basically train up for people who had never seen a range before, because most of the commercial folks had not seen one.
Yeah. So before we get too far, I was really interested, and I was talking to others about this. So who won the days? Do we know who won the days?
I know, like, on the first day, I don't remember who won in the morning, but I know there was a local pen test group that won in the afternoon.
Okay.
So most of these people on the commercial side, though, had never seen anything like this before. And it was great to get some technology in front of people that they had never seen and train them in basically a live fire cybersecurity environment.
Yeah, so they had all the VMs spun up. I mean, it was a live event, right? So we had Cyber Pro AI folks here. Joe Tinney was here proctoring it as well. So yeah.
Yeah. So they were presented with two scenarios. They got a scenario in the morning, which was a little bit easier because we just wanted to get them orientated. And then the second one was much harder. So they took a lot more time. And each scenario took around 2 hours to complete. We provided lunch in the middle. And then we brought in, there were some retired generals from U.S. Cyber Command, Army Cyber Command, who were here. General Neil Hersey gave a great presentation at lunch. We fed everybody. And then they went into the second scenario. So it was a great time. I'm exhausted. I'm still trying to get caught up on sleep. Because of just the amount of work that goes into that. We had been working on that since March of this year.
A lot of early days, late nights.
Yes, there was a lot. We had a great networking event on Monday evening to just kind of present what we were doing from a cyber perspective to the community. And we got a huge response from the community that night. We had a great dinner and brought in some more speakers and networking. So I think the Dayton region is very aware of what we're doing, and we're not going to stop there. So the next thing we did was we did the ribbon cutting for the upskilling training center.
Right.
So Cyber Pro AI is the company we partnered with there, again, Israeli, to have them come in and basically throughout 2025, we're offering classes on various topics. We'll put the link again for those classes down in the summary. But the idea is like red team, blue team, purple team. There's even some intro to cybersecurity courses. You know, these would be like SANS equivalent type things. You know, SANS is definitely a premier cybersecurity company that provides great training. But I think the benefit here is it's local training. So it's a little bit cheaper than SANS, but I think from a quality perspective, like these are the same courses that are taught by the Israelis internationally. And everybody knows, you know, that Israel's very good at cybersecurity, right? So this is training like no other.
Yeah. So So the ribbon cutting, the training is brand new in our area. I think we have 6 to 10 courses coming
Correct.
out. So this was really just the start of something that Go Cyber Collective intends to keep going into 2025 and beyond. So I think we had like 50 business people here that day, and then man, the education day, there was like 100 students.
There was over 100 students. We had a dozen school districts represented in the state of Ohio.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was great. All right, so let's talk about some of the headlines. We've got Apple's in the news.
Yeah, so they fixed 2 0 days. These were older though, right? I mean, these were for older Intel-based devices. I'm not a Mac guy, so I was relying on you for this one.
So I mean, these popped up in my updates this week. So these are current 2024 CVEs, but I'm not aware of them being older, unless they were related to older ones.
Well, I meant older Intel-based Mac systems, not older CVEs.
Okay, that I do not know.
Oh.
But that's what it says. It does say it's on Intel-based Macs.
But Macs are really good about it. It'll pop up and just tell you
Yeah.
like right then, right? So
It will. It's pretty good about that. Yeah.
if it pops up, hit the OK
Patch
button.
it. Right. North Korea.
Yeah. So North Korea is their, North Korea is just turning to the 9 to 5, right? I mean, so they're standing up some front companies to impersonate U.S. IT firms, and they're just funding their missile programs. So they got to go out there and get jobs like everybody else.
Yeah, this goes back to some of the other episodes that we've done. This especially relates to the KnowBe4 situation where they had hired that North Korean person accidentally.
Right.
We'll say it again. I think you're going to have to get back to in-person stuff.
I mean, make sure you see them. I mean,
Well, but
I guess, with AI
deep
now.
fakes now, that doesn't work either. So you either fly these people to your corporate office, or you have regional offices. If you're large enough, you have regional offices where somebody can verify this person. I almost see the day, honestly, I'm surprised somebody hasn't started a business to do this. Kind of consider it like a Regis type thing for companies to, if you're trying, like for example, if you're trying to recruit from the West Coast, but you don't have a West Coast, right? We're sitting here in Moraine, Ohio.
You trust somebody here to verify that person.
Yeah,
is
so
what they say.
maybe have them go to a regional processing center where they can be, they can look at a human, verify their credentials, look at them, maybe even do a short background check for them, and then provide them a space in the building where they can link up with you to do the interview and know that they've been verified.
Yeah. We should do that.
Right.
You just think that up just now?
Yeah, I'll tell our CFO I'm going to start another thing, and I'm sure she'll be happy with that.
Yeah. So industrial control systems, this is...
Only 145,000 industrial control systems across 175 countries are exposed. Other than that,
Isn't that like all of them?
well,
Like, how many is all of them?
That's a good question. We'd have to ask.
There's like 150,000, and they got 145.
Yeah, I'd have to go check Shodan, man. I don't know. But this is bad news, right? So a third of those belong to the United States.
Yeah. Well, the next story we're going to talk about is we found 300 of them.
Yeah, so these stories are definitely kind of linked together, right?
Yeah.
So Security Week discovered that the EPA had provided a report saying that, I think these are just of the ones that they looked at, right?
Right.
300 drinking water systems in the U.S. are exposed to disruptive, damaging cyber attacks. So that's 110 million people that would be impacted by that.
Right.
How many people are in the United States? 350? Ish?
Well, it's a third. Yeah. So, well, I mean, we see this all the time, right? These environments were built in the 70s, 80s, and they've just kind of ridden that wave. So, definitely something the FBI and CISA is talking about. I mean, to me, that's scary.
Yeah. So the name of the game here is, if you're a local government or a private system as well, I'd have to look at the report deeply to understand, kind of, I don't know if they broke it down by who owns it. You've got to have somebody come in and look at your stuff. One of the things that I've noticed, I'm getting ready to write a curriculum for water operators. And you may say, why would you write a course for water operators? I'm trying to write a cybersecurity course for water operators because there's a big gray area as it relates to water, right? And you've been doing some of the assessments, and I think you're starting to see where that is,
Yeah,
right?
I think I know where you're going with this.
So the water operators themselves, these are the people that work in the utility, right? These are the electricians, the chemists, the plumbers, the people that are doing water and wastewater.
That make the water.
And clean the water, correct.
The water. Yeah.
They have no technical background from a cyber perspective, or some of them don't even have a technical background.
Yeah, there's
right?
a big gap. I've noticed this, and I thought this is where you're going with it, right? So there's a huge gap between the water operators that are really good at that and the IT staff that supports that operation, right? And these things are so interconnected and linked. It's almost like you can't do a water assessment without doing an IT assessment as well.
No, you can't, because there's a handoff point, right? There's supposed to be a clear demarcation.
Yeah.
From where the industrial control system leaves and your administrative IT network, we'll call it, picks up. But, it seems like the IT folks don't want anything to do with the water and wastewater system because it's industrial controls and SCADA, and they don't know anything about it.
Yeah.
And then the contractors that are working for these entities also have no idea because it's too complicated for them.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, this is one of the biggest things I've noticed is, if you have the luxury to have an IT department that's supporting your water, great. But what I've seen in other times is, we have one, network provider, and then we have another MSP that does some desktop stuff, and then we have an HMI guy that just updates the HMI interface and that software. And my biggest thing is like nobody really has it.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like they're all just kind of working in their own little silo, and that's it. Like nobody has an overarching
correct.
Hey, there's holes all over, here. So,
yeah, one of the big things too is, I noticed in the report here, the EPA definitely lacks in the cybersecurity section. So, if many of you don't recall, the EPA did try and enforce new cybersecurity regulations, only to be sued by smaller operators because they were unfunded mandates. So that left the water and wastewater industry in a very uncomfortable situation. And unfortunately, I think we're going to have to wait until the new administration gets in order for Congress, to start looking at this again or to start seeing, what regulations or what proposals get entered into Congress to see if we can get some additional laws or funding to support this.
Yeah. Or if regulations will just become more lax. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know, man. This is a really interesting situation, not in a good way, because water is something that humans we have to have water.
Right.
Right. So I'm drinking coffee. There's water in the coffee. But if you can't make coffee, if you can't drink the water, if you can't shower, if you can't, we will die.
Yeah.
Well, we won't die if you can't shower. But I just mean if we have to have water. Power, on the other hand, is something that is also needed, right? But because without power, we can't run the stations to pump the water. And
right, it's all connected.
But what my point is, the electrical industry is very heavily regulated, and there's a lot of cyber in there, right? With the grids and all that stuff. So I don't know. It's just completely imbalanced. The two things that we need the most are probably the two things that are the most vulnerable. Even with the cybersecurity standards in the electric space, we still have critical vulnerabilities. We still have, grids exposed. I don't know. I'm going down a rabbit hole, but make a move. Do something. If you've not had your environment looked at externally, give somebody a call.
Yeah. Get another opinion.
Yep. All right, we'll end with Palo Alto.
PAN-OS firewall vulnerability under active exploitation. So if you have Palo Altos, definitely patch those up.
Now, this was also mixed up with, there were some vulnerabilities that were also released to the known vulnerability list, the KEV, inside CISA, that involved configuration management tool inside the Palo system. So there's been a lot of Palo stuff that has come out over the last couple weeks. So I think, name of the game here is if you've got Palo Alto in your environment, make sure that you've run some vulnerability scanners against it, because there's been a lot coming out. So if you weren't keeping up, it's also my understanding that the Palo Alto interface, the support interface, will query your Palo Alto device and tell you if you're vulnerable. Okay. That's my understanding. And then they had also issued a best practice on how to secure the management interface.
Okay. So check out, that's all in the Kev?
That was in CISA released that one. So if you go to CISA, the CISA website, and look at alerts and news, you should see the PAN best practice document that they released.
Okay. And the Kev is the known exploited vulnerability list.
Yeah, that's correct. That's the list that once it hits the Kev, it's actively being exploited. The problem with the Kev is that it doesn't give you any details as to the context of the exploit.
Right. I think it provides a link, though.
Does it?
I think so. I think it'll pop up and say, hey, you're leaving CISA's website, blah, blah, blah. So,
okay, awesome.
But yeah.
All right. Well, that's all we have for this week.
Yeah. It's a busy week around here.
Yeah, definitely a busy week. All right. Well, that's all we have, and we'll catch you next time. I'm Sean.
I'm Chad.
And we'll see you again.